So something we could do next, when you add a room, we could also accept a user or a list of users, or we can make a special, create a DM list first. Maybe adding it to the rooms we've already got is simpler. I don't know, what do you think? Let's add it to that. So the list of users is going to need to be available down there. So of course we're going to pass this on in state. Now one question you probably have, you're probably thinking there's got to be a better way to pass props down through like 3 intermediate components that aren't even using it just to get to one way down here. And yeah, of course there is. And now you're going to kill me for not telling you sooner. But every solution to this is at least a little complicated. Redux is the first thing that people tend to reach for that. So Redux is a whole different state management system. And that's one of the problems it solves. But it's a whole thing that we definitely don't have time to cover. And then there's also the context API, which has been around for a long time, but they just redid it in React 16 or 16.3 or something like that, but in a recent version of React. And it is also a solution to that problem. It is also a little bit conceptually complicated, but it's something, one of those two things, you're going to want to learn that. If you're going to use React professionally, you have to learn Redux because it's used lots and lots of places. Basically, once your data reaches a certain level of complexity, most people reach for Redux. So that's a good thing to learn. There's actually a free tutorial out there that I'll send you a link to later. That's pretty good. You build an Instagram clone. But Context API is another solution to this. But for right now, let's just pass it down as a prop again. So to get it to, where are we going with this? Oh, the form, right? So we'll be going through the sidebar, which means we're going through main. So where's main? So main here, we have a whole bunch of dang props in main. Let's add another one. What's it called again? Users equals this.state.users. So keep in mind that since you can do this, we could also do something like this, because I had to hunt through this to find this. At the beginning of our render method, we could do something like const main props equals some object. Say user colon this.state.user. Sign out colon this.signout. Users colon this.state.users. Just do it as an object here, and then in our JSX, use the spread operator to break it out into individual props. So you can always do something like that if your list of props is just getting too darn long and too hard to manage. Just keep it in an object and then use the spread operator to include it. So you can always do something like that. So that puts it in main.js. We need it in the sidebar. So go to our render function. Here's the sidebar. User sign out. Users equals this.props.users. In sidebar, that needs to go down to room list, right? So this is called users. So we could add users equals users here. And in room list, we have room form, right? Room list is an actual class. Where's room form? Here's room form. Right now it's getting add room. It should probably also get users equals this.props.users. And if there's any component begging to be refactored, it's this one. Look at this hideous thing. Look at all those levels of indentation. Mercy, mercy. Makes me sick to my stomach. But that's not what we're dealing with right now. That is a bad looking component. So room form. Cool. Now I've got this.props.users. And we could do something like the room has name, description, public or private. I don't know. Which should it be? Which should the checkbox be? To mark it public and it should be on by default, or should it be private off by default? Definitely public by default. Definitely public by default because the vast majority of the time that's what you're doing. But question is, should we call it public or should we call it private? Let's see what happens when you add a channel here. Send invites to. If you just don't send any invites, oh, okay. Yeah, in Slack, you get a big one of these dealies. And it's public and it's on by default. So I'm just trying to decide whether to call the field public or private. I'm going to call it public. And we'll default it to true.
How about trying open instead? So the public they can open and then close.
Just to, I'm not sure that meaning is as clear. Because closed could mean that you just can't add messages to it at all, right? Like you close a thread on Reddit. Like that means no one else can comment anymore. So I think I like public and private. But that's fine. Yeah. So here we go. The first name in the form right now is name, so we could put that first. And then we could start it with just a dang checkbox. Input type equals checkbox. Value equals this dot. I don't know if value works for sure, but this dot state dot room dot public. Right? That's what I called it. The value does not do that on a checkbox in HTML, so it probably doesn't do it here either. It's probably needs to be checked equals, but let's see. React checkbox. Yeah, checked equals that. That's what I figured. Not value. And of course we need on change. Goes this dot handle change. Now notice they did their handle change a little differently here. If the target type is checkbox, then the value is not target.value, but the value of target.checked. So we do probably need to change this slightly. Handle change, get the room. Target is event.target. Value, if target.type equals checkbox, then the value is target.checked. Otherwise, it's target.value. So then we'll use value here. Let's say target.name here. You get that? So it's not dot value, it's dot checked, which is going to be either true or false. Now we need a label for a checkbox always. I'll just do the whole handle change for the sake of context. Okay. Yep. So we definitely need a label. I'm going to wrap the input in a label. Then you don't need the HTML for, actually. It knows which one it's for. And then we'll put the text here. Public. Let's see what we got. It's going to be real ugly, I imagine. There it is. I don't even see the... where is it? Oh, there it is. It's white. So that's not helpful. Why is it white? The other labels aren't white. Huh. That's weird. Set a style for that. Color. So what are these? What are these labels? 999. There it is. There's a label. Okay. I don't want it to be display block though. Well, let's see. Let's see what we can do. Input. So we're using, yes, we're using Aphrodite. So I need class name on the label. Class name equals CSS styles.label. Don't expect to like this. And that's not too bad. We can live with that. I can't change it. So my on change is not right yet. Oh, I didn't even put an on change yet. Yeah, it did. Handle change. Okay, so that is not right. Do the others work? Yeah, that still works. But this one does not work. I can't change it. Why not? Oh, I don't have a name on it at all. I don't have a name on that checkbox at all. Yep, that'll do it. Type equals checkbox name equals public. That will do it. Yep. There we go. Now I can turn it on and off. Not at the moment.
I got the tag label is unrecognized in this browser. If you meant to render as a React component and start its name with an uppercase letter.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's spelled wrong.
What? Oh.
Okay. That will do it. All right. So then before our buttons, let's add a new paragraph. Label for, I don't know, users. We'll say users to add. And right now we'll just make this a text field just so I can get something on the page and see how it looks. But that will not fly long term, I don't think. So name users, value this dot state dot room dot users, whatever. Class name, input, handle change, fine. We'll make users an array here. And I need to style that label. Wherever it is, here it is. Oops. class name equals CSS styles.label. There you go, users to add. We could have that only show up if it's not public. So we could do something like this. This dot state dot room dot public. So if not, this dot state dot room dot public. Have we talked about this for conditional rendering before? Using and. So put the condition. The way and works. If the first thing is false, it just stops right there. But if the first thing is true, then it checks the second thing. And if the second thing is true, it returns the second thing. It doesn't return true. It returns the second thing. So the condition that determines whether we should see it, not this.state.room.public. So if it's private, then we want to show this list. Let's see if I'm crazy or if this works. Or both. All right. Right now, public is checked. Don't see it. Uncheck it. There we go. Aha. Groovy. So this users field is definitely not done, but we're taking a step in the right direction. At the very least, I'll commit the fact that we have added a public checkbox. Add public boolean to rooms.